Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today. As guys, the Bears are currently on life support as the Bulls have persevered. The crypto market continues on its bullish rally. Bitcoin at 34K. XRP holding strong at 55 cents. And what I'm here to stress to all of you is bullish momentum is continuing. While there may be a small possibility of a pullback in the coming days, the inevitable is clear. The next couple months into April 2024 are going to be perma-bullish for the crypto market. All of you need to get your ducks in a row now and get your entry points and your high quality alts before these entries leave. And I can't stress that enough. Now, that's not financial advice and I'm not a financial advisor, but you should still follow that anyway. As here we see that money is flowing out of stocks and into crypto. And while crypto has typically followed the stock market, I just want you to be aware and observe the possibility of crypto deviating away from the stock market. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I'm just getting progressively more bullish on crypto while I'm getting more and more bearish on the stock market. And I think it's one of those moments where you have to pay attention. Now, something else we've been paying attention to is how we have to decipher the lizard talk and the news propaganda purported by the mainstream. You see, just yesterday, BlackRock's iShares Spot Bitcoin ETF was listed on the DTCC. Then it was redacted, and now it's been relisted on the DTCC. This right here is a psychological operation on the minds of the masses within the crypto market. And if you don't get it by now, you're just not getting it. You're meant to be broke. They don't want you to win. But the more you stay in here and maneuver through what they want you to do, the better and easier it's going to be once we get out of this baby calf walk and go on a full-fledged bull cycle. Because if one thing is clear, it's that Jamie Dimon, Larry Fink, and many others have fired a shot heard around the world. The conflicts happening in the Middle East right now could upend the economy, and Jamie Dimon has called this one of the most dangerous times the world has seen in decades, especially in regards to the economy. I would happen to agree. We got our Black Swan event October 7th, and while it did not collapse markets, it's going to act as a major catalyst for the economic policy that is about to ensue. And I hope all of you are very well aware of what's going on. Now, something else I want to pivot your attention to is how the XRP community has known the truth about this market for the longest time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the ironic clip, the legendary clip of Tim Draper speaking with Gary Gensler and letting him know exactly what regulators do. And the big irony of the situation is that Tim Draper explained to Gary Gensler exactly what he was inevitably going to do because he is a puppet. He does not wear the pants. Gary's following orders. And now the incumbents are lining their pockets with massive crypto positions as this Bitcoin ETF from BlackRock is ready to get passed. They're going to get ready for their mass marketing campaign.
We're not letting this happen. And then it keeps going. And then they say, okay, well, let's go after, let's sue them. Or let's go get the government.
There's another thing they do. They adopt the technology. I think.
No, that's at the end.
They will adopt this technology.
No, this is the last thing they do. They plant the press stories.
Ripple's founders never registered XRP as a security before selling it to other investors. They argue it's more like a utility and that it's a currency.
They put out lawsuits. They create as much of a fuss as possible. They try to get their government friends involved. And then they go, oh, God, this thing's happening.
Yep. Some have done a great job, and we should acknowledge that. Some have done a great job. You and I wouldn't call them a fintech. There's something that a company came up with, which is fintech type services.
Yes.
Some have some did stuff that we could have done ourselves. And I think a company should be self-critical. Mm-hmm. We could have done ourselves, and we didn't. They beat us to it, or they simply did it better. And so we should acknowledge that.
And guys, what you're seeing right now on the global stage is that acknowledgement that the banks have messed up. The banking system is failing. The banks and their infrastructure is collapsing. Remember Silicon Valley Bank just earlier this March imploding. But now some big boys are having some problems. Banks continue to collapse as four of Wall Street's biggest banks have recently plummeted to levels not seen since the devastating March banking crisis. And the year-to-date losses are staggering, ranging from 15% to 24%, causing significant concerns for investors in overall markets. Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs are all wavering. These banks, however, are all correctly positioned to benefit handsomely from these fintechs that they're partnering with, from this technological innovation in the payment system, and from these November upgrades that are mandatory and that are taking place in regards to SWIFT and ISO 20022. And if you think Ripple winning these cases 3-0 in coordination with this Bitcoin ETF rumor, in coordination with these banking collapses are all coincidence, you need to get out of the rock you've been living under. The world is about to change forever, and we are at the front of the line to benefit handsomely. And just yesterday, we had news break in the XRP community about Ripple partnering with Uphold. And I think we just figured out why Ripple partnered with Uphold. According to the summary judgment, are on-demand liquidity-related sales now considered securities? And David Schwartz answered this. He stated, we're still figuring this out. We don't currently have on-demand liquidity-related sales with a U.S. nexus, and not being able to do so is not really a huge deal. We can still do on-demand liquidity in the U.S. so long as XRP is never sourced from Ripple. But now, I believe with this partnership with Uphold, Ripple has solved this problem. XRP's on-demand liquidity is getting ready for a global takeover. And the entire planet is about to witness the gravity, the magnitude of the strength XRP as a digital asset has been building behind the scenes for years. Here, Nick Kiergan, lead innovator at Swift, states that by the end of 2024, there could be 20 CBDCs deployed for use. And it's interesting how it lines up with the implementation of Mica. Here I'm going to play you this clip very quickly. And then we're going to break down something extremely important, as the ESMA, the EU's financial markets regulator and supervisor, published a paper and a statement to encourage preparations for a smooth transition to Mica. And that Mica implementation will be due December 2024.
Hi everyone, I'm Nick Kerrigan, Managing Director and Head of Innovation at Swift, and I do what my role describes, innovation, and that means we sort of roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty in trying new things. And so therefore I hope these comments will be a really nice complement to the academic perspective that we've heard so far in the session today. So why should we be caring about CBDCs? I think the reason we should be caring about CBDCs is we see a really growing momentum globally in this trend. You can see some of the stats up here on the slide. So we follow closely the tracker that's done by the Atlantic Council, and what that tells us is that over 100 countries are now exploring a CBDC. Indeed, I think it says on here 11 countries have now actually launched a digital currency, and those are countries as diverse as the Bahamas and Nigeria. And I think one of the stats that I found very interesting was a survey done at the end of last year by OMFIF, and OMFIF is like a kind of industry association that promotes dialogue amongst central banks. And OMFIF surveyed central banks, and 24% of the central banks that they talked to said that they plan to issue a CBDC in the next 1 to 2 years. Which means that by, say, the end of 2024, we could see 20 or so CBDCs in circulation globally.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, isn't it so ironic that Ripple themselves let us know that they're working with approximately 15% of the world's central banks on CBDCs? No coincidences here, my friend. And Stu Olderati from Ripple is over here discussing in this video preparation for Mica. And just in case you guys were wondering why I played the most recent clip, this one is about to let you all know how big what's about to happen is.
Also established an office in Ireland last year. We have applications pending with the Central Bank of Ireland, both for a virtual asset service provider license and an e-money license. We'll work with the regulator and hopefully satisfy them that we are equipped from a regulatory and a compliance standpoint to operate under their supervision. And hopefully once we get that license, we'll be able to use that not only to operate in Ireland, but to passport that through the EU. We're doing the same in the UK. A few weeks ago, we received our major payments institution license from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. We're hopeful we'll get clearance in Dubai before the end of the year. We have an agreement with the Central Bank of Brazil to do business there. We operate under a regulatory supervision through a joint venture in Japan. So this is the direction of travel for the industry.
Compliance, 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 my friends. That's going to be the name of the game in 2024. And XRP just so happens to be the most compliant digital asset in the United States. But also, Ripple has been paving the way to be the most compliant crypto company with XRP as its complementary digital asset around the world. Ripple's effects of ISO 20022 adoption is visible. HSBC Bank has started using Swift's pre-validation while initiating a payment, but RippleNet has pre-validation features since 2018. Also, HSBC has mentioned Ripple in several white papers. There are strong hints of dot connecting here between Swift and Ripple, and we know the connections that they've had and have been building behind the scenes for a long time now. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing going on right now is by accident. Everything is leading to one final endgame. And when you hear all the language all these people are talking about, you know that our fate is sealed and the road is clear.
How is HSBC using pre-validation capabilities?
Okay, so I think we're doing it in a phased manner, and we're phasing it across both our participation model as well as the customer channel initiation, and I'll elaborate briefly on both. From a participation model standpoint, I think there are two broad roles. You can be a consumer and you can be a responder. So from a consumer standpoint, all that means is, as a remitting bank, I'm giving my clients the option to pre-validate whether or not the information is correct. So in this case, we're connecting to Swift, who in turn connects with the beneficiary bank to validate whether the information, say the beneficiary account name or the account number, is actually accurate, or is the bank account actually open. So that's one perspective from a consumer. A responder is simply the opposite. So the responder is the bank that's responding back to the call from Swift to validate whether or not the information is correct. So we piloted this, if I'm not wrong, in UAE a couple of years back. And we then, upon some initial success from the pilot, we have scaled this as a consumer, if I'm not wrong, to pretty much every single market where HSBC is present, maybe barring one or two slightly more challenging markets. And on the responder side, I think we're about 7 or 8 markets now, but the markets where we're seeing the bulk of our volume, so we have Hong Kong live, we have US, UK, and a few other large markets. And if I'm not wrong, by the end of the year, that number should be closer to 30 as well. So I think we're really looking to drive that industry adoption because, as we like to say, payments is a team sport and you kind of need the network effect. So that's on the participation model side.
Now guys, to cap off this video for today, as we're heading into the death of the bear market and the annihilation of the bears themselves, I have just completed a 2-hour-long podcast episode with Waters Above Crypto, breaking down what he anticipates with the Bitcoin price, with the stock market, and especially with our favorite, our baby, our precious XRP. And that video will be posted later today, as you all need to anticipate greatness and the greatest digital asset ever created. And in this asset class that's getting ready to erupt, we are heading into a bull market, my friends. Don't get dissuaded and stay the course. Don't get footed out now. The fun is only beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bearable Bull here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Now I'll be back tomorrow with another video.